Hello everyone. In this video, we see Paul Morphy's attacking game. In this game, Paul Morphy play with black pieces and John Sultan play with white pieces. This game was played in 1857 in New York. So white starts with e4, e5, f4, King's Gambit. E takes f4, King's Gambit accepted. Bishop c4, knight f6, knight c3, bishop b4, e5, create pressure on knight. So Paul Morphy didn't save his knight and continue with d5 and create pressure on bishop. White can take this pawn with n%, but white didn't take this pawn and continue with e takes knight, d takes bishop, f takes g7, rook g8, queen e2 check, bishop e6, a3, create pressure on bishop, bishop c5, knight f3, knight c6, knight e4, create pressure on bishop. Here in this position, pause the video and think Paul Morphy's next move. So Paul Morphy didn't save his bishop and continue with knight d4 and create pressure on queen, and these two squares are covered by pawn. Also can't move his queen on f2 and f1, because if queen f2, then knight takes c2 check and the discover attack comes on queen, so white would lose his queen. And if queen f1, then also knight takes c2 check, and then king has two options, and this diagonal is covered by bishop, so king can't escape from here. If king move to d1, then knight e3 comes and white would lose his queen with fork, because this d2 pawn is pinned. And if king move to e2, then queen d3 check and king has only one move, king d1, and after king d1, knight e3 check and white would lose his queen. So white exchange his knight. Knight takes knight, bishop takes knight. c3, create pressure on bishop. But Paul Morphy didn't save his bishop and continue with queen h4 check, and the king has two options. If king move to d1, then Paul Morphy sacrifice his bishop and castles queen side. But white didn't take this bishop, because bishop g4 comes and white's queen would pin. But white move his king on f1 and Paul Morphy save his bishop. Bishop b6 and white continue with d4 and cut the bishop's diagonal. But here Paul Morphy could take this pawn with n%. So Paul Morphy take this pawn with n%. C takes d3 and pressure on queen. Queen takes d3, rook d8. Pressure on queen. Queen e2. And here in this position, pause the video and think Paul Morphy's final move. So Paul Morphy's final move. Rook d1 check, and Paul Morphy sacrifice his rook, and the king has no moves. And also black can't move his queen between rook and the king, because queen takes queen is mate. And if white take this rook with his queen, then bishop c4 check and the king has no moves. So white has to move his queen between bishop and the king, and after moving queen, white would lose his queen. So after rook d1 check, white resigned here. If you like the game, then please subscribe the channel for watch more games.